We'll be talking about COVID care and the Vice President of the United States and her plans to enhance and make sure that COVID testing and vaccines are available to all. And joining us shortly will be Senator Tammy Duckworth. Senator Dick Durbin, Senator Tammy Duckworth, and a number of elected officials, Congressman Danny Davis also is arriving. And the situation with COVID vaccines and testing is critical in Chicago, where cases continue to rise and there is concern about the accessibility and the availability for all in this process. And so we look forward to hearing more about what the president has in mind, what plans are available, and what we can look forward to as a city and as a nation in terms of stemming the tide of the spread of COVID-19. Oh, he had a doctor's appointment. He was on standby with
Thank you for being here this afternoon. And the three of us would like to say a few words on behalf of the event that we just attended. Vice President Kamala Harris came to Chicago and witnessed the vaccination site over at the union headquarters. Serves the active members of the union and retirees as well. It's a cooperative effort by the unions and their membership, and it's one that we've been part of. Three of us were instrumental in bringing the federal site, which is the United Center, and supporting the efforts of President Biden as well as Vice President Harris to make sure that vaccines are available. This is a critical moment in this pandemic. People are tired of it. I'm tired of it. But we can't break the back of this pandemic unless we push for more vaccinations. We saw that today. We need to see it across America. Last Saturday or Friday, 4 million people were vaccinated in this country. We've got to see those numbers continue and to grow, and we've got to expand the reach of this vaccination within our own communities here in Illinois, across the Midwest and the nation. That has to be done. We also need to know that isn't the end of the story. We've got this, get this economy back on its feet. And that's why the Biden-Harris administration is proposing that we now move to a Build America Back Better bill, one that put jobs into the economy desperately needed. We didn't have the support of many members of the other party in the American Rescue Plan, and that's unfortunate because it's essential to get this economy back on its feet. We are going to see benefits coming back to Illinois for the American Rescue Plan, and we've already seen them. The $1,400 checks to almost 80% of Illinois families, the extension of unemployment benefits for 500,000 people in Illinois and across the nation, putting more vaccine on the street and making sure that there are those who can administer it, and building up across the board. That's going to continue with this jobs program of the Biden-Harris administration. The three of us have supported it. We'll continue to. I'd like to introduce my colleague in the Senate, Tammy Duckworth.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you everyone for being here today. It was great to see Kamala again, and I'm so glad she was able to come and highlight the efforts here in Illinois with our vaccination program. And in fact, I'm very proud to say that Illinois' rate of vaccination is among the highest rates in the country, but we still have a real long way to go, in particular among our Black and brown communities. We're seeing some of the greatest effects of COVID-19, as you already know, among our communities of color, and in particular among caregivers of color. I know within the AAPI community, for example, Filipino nurses are a relatively small percentage of total nurses in this country, but they're experiencing some of the highest casualty rates from COVID-19. And so we need to make sure that as we get more and more people vaccinated, as we open up more and more of the categories, that we spread the message that we are, those of us who've gotten the vaccine are the ones to convince our friends, our neighbors, that they too should get vaccinated. All throughout today, I've had conversations with staff, with people that I just met today, as well as longtime friends I hadn't seen in over a year. And we were all telling each other stories about trying to convince a grandma that, go get the vaccine so that you can hug your grandbaby. Let's, until I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old who can't be vaccinated. Somebody getting vaccinated protects my baby girls. And so it's not just about us, but the message is about us as a community taking care of one another, making sure that we reemerge out of this. I talked about a little bit about the term stronger in the broken places. I learned that at Walter Reed. We come back stronger in those broken places, and we learn from the mistakes of the Trump administration, and we're going to come back with a better system for vaccinating people so that should we ever be confronted with another pandemic, we know what to do. But it's also about building back our economy, and I was so glad that the Vice President, talked about the Build Back Better program and about the things that we need to do to invest in our nation's infrastructure. I was especially pleased that she included water infrastructure. I'm the new chairwoman of the Fisheries, Wildlife, and Water Subcommittee. So I am now in the Senate going to be working and taking the lead on all water infrastructure issues, to include the 23% of the nation's lead water pipeline that are here in Illinois. We have exponentially more lead water pipelines than any other state in the nation, and most of it is here in Chicago, but it is also in Galesburg. It is also downstate Illinois. We also have to fix the water infrastructure when it comes to sewer systems, when it comes to water main breaks. There's a water main break in this country every single minute. When people pay their water bill, they don't realize that only a fraction of the water that they pay to have reclaim and clean is actually making its way through the pipes and out of your faucet. So we have to invest in those things. We're going to do it with union labor. We're going to do it in a way that not only just repairs the water, but comes back better. And that's where environmental justice is such an important part of what we're doing as well. I started the Environmental Justice Caucus in the Senate along with Cory Booker and Tom Carper. And one of the things that we have to do with this infrastructure package is to bring communities that have been underfunded for their infrastructure back up on par with everyone else, and then we build everybody up better. It's not just about giving everybody an equal amount of money. It is about fixing and bringing everybody back to equity, and then fixing above that so that then we can compete with Germany and Japan and South Korea, nations that have been investing in the infrastructure, whether it's roads or rail or bridges or broadband. And so I'm so pleased that that was also part of the Vice President's message. And we can't do it all alone in the Senate. In fact, much of what happens in the Senate could only happen if it comes to us from the House of Representatives. So I'm very proud to be able to introduce my good friend, Congressman Danny Davis, who helps leads our efforts there in the House. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, one of the labor unions have a motto, and they say that a people united will never be defeated. Illinois is a state that is united. And as a result of that unification, we have vaccinated more individuals than practically any state, and especially any state our size in the United States of America. Which means that through the unification of the governor, a great leader, of the mayor, of my two colleagues in the United States Senate, how fortunate we are in Illinois. It's not every state that can boast of having the number 2 leader in the United States Senate. We have that in Senator Richard Durbin. We have one of the most inspirational leaders in our country, in America, or any place in the world, in the person of Senator Tammy Duckworth. And when you put all of that together with what the labor unions represent and what it is that we do, I'm proud to be here in Chinatown that I have represented now for more than 20 years, one of the most vibrant communities in America, one of the most creative and activated communities in America. You put all of that together and you get a $1.9 trillion rescue plan. You send billions of dollars out to places like Illinois so that people have access to the vaccine that they need to stop the virus. Then you put together a tremendous infrastructure program that's going to put thousands and thousands and thousands of people to work, repairing bridges, fixing highways, rebuilding schools, getting lead out of the water. I am so delighted, Senator, that you've taken that task, because it was more than 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that I reduced the amount of lead in gasoline that could be sold in the city of Chicago, way back when Harold Washington was the mayor. So we understand the importance of getting rid of lead that gets into our bodies, and especially into the bodies of small children. So I simply urge all of us to be a part of the solution, or we're part of the problem. When you wear your mask, you're part of the solution. When you get your vaccine, you're part of the solution. When you're socially distant, you're part of the solution. Illinois, Chicago is a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Thank you very much.
Senator, I'm wondering if you could address the administration's call to move up access to vaccines for everybody to April the 19th, and also the importance of maybe getting that done in Chicago sooner rather than later, since here we're still looking at a May 1st date for that.
I don't want to second guess any decision, a local decision or state decision on timing, because each of those decisions takes into consideration the status of our infection and deaths and hospital capacities. But what the president is doing is clearly not only meeting but surpassing all the goals he set. He wanted 100 million vaccinated within the first 100 days of his administration. He did it within 60 days. He wanted the second 100 million to be vaccinated by July 1st, and that's clearly going to be sooner. And he has said on a nationwide basis, they're reducing the ages, and I think, generally speaking, April 12th is the date across the nation. People 16 and older are not all eligible. So the circumstances locally may be different. I don't want to try to second guess those, but on a national basis, we're making better progress than we thought we would.
Senator, can you address what some people have in terms of a, thank you. Senator, can you address what some people might have in terms of concerns that some of the substances in the vaccine might be something that people are allergic to? Can people be made more aware of what exactly is in the vaccine so they can determine whether or not they might be at risk?
I think we have ample evidence, both through the Food and Drug Administration and personal life experience, dealing with the fact that millions of people are being vaccinated on a daily basis across America. If there were a serious problem, we would have seen it. It would have come out. There are isolated instances of peculiar personal illnesses some people have. Consult with your doctor, not your politician, about whether it's a smart decision. But in terms of the safety of these vaccines, millions and millions of people are proving every single day that it's a safe vaccine, and more importantly, it makes certain that they're going to avoid any serious medical issues for themselves and people they love.
And can you discuss where it might be available to people who are incarcerated? There's concern that they may not have access to the vaccine.
Well, let me just tell you, the Congressional Black Caucus is one of the real reasons that people who are incarcerated just got their $1,400 check. Because the Trump administration had told us that they were not impacted negatively by the virus. They told us that they got a place to live, they got food to eat, and if they get sick, as a result, we protested that. And a group of lawyers filed a lawsuit, won it, and those individuals who are in the penitentiary are now getting a PPP. They're now getting a check. They were not going to be getting a check. They were not getting a check. And even when they started giving them the check, some of them got the debit card. And we turned around and said to the head of the Internal Revenue Service, don't give them a debit card, give them a check, like everybody else. So there is a tremendous amount of effort to make sure that people who are incarcerated are not misused and abused, and that all of their humanity is stripped away from them just because they are incarcerated. And so I can assure you that there are groups, including the Congressional Black Caucus, including the Tri-Caucus, that are very seriously monitoring what is going on in our Federal Bureau of Prisons and in our prison systems all over the country. First question that you raised, I represent more hospitals than any other single member of Congress in my congressional district. Great institutions. The University of Illinois worked on finding a solution, creating information and data. We also have in Chicago, University of Chicago, one of the top hospitals in the world. Rush Presbyterian St. Louis, Northwestern, as well as groups who monitor whatever research is going on. So I think we can feel secure that the medication that is developed, that the great scientific community we have, some of the greatest scientists who ever studied, that what they are producing is good for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't certify as being appropriate to use. I've had both shots. The only thing that happened to me was I felt better, hungrier, and ate more. So we're going to be in good shape.
Congressman News, I just have two questions. One for you. A few miles away from here, a few hours ago, a 2-year-old was shot in the head. CPD said it was a case of road rage. What do you want to say? Because this, it keeps, when you think you can't get more upset and more shocked by the violence in Chicago, this happens. And I do believe that's in your congressional district. Could you just address the gun violence and the violence on the streets in general on 11 o'clock on a beautiful, sunny, warm day in Chicago, a 2-year-old shot in the head?
Much of the violence that we are experiencing is because people are unhappy, dissatisfied, unfulfilled, unemployed, don't have the adequacy of resources and education that they need, don't have the upbringing that they need to have. And so trying to bring resources, develop programs and activities to create a saner society, we need to invest much more money into mental health than what we're doing. Not only is the violence in my district and here in the community where we are, but it's all over America. It's everywhere you look. It's everywhere you turn. And so we have to create what Martin Luther King talked about when he talked about a beloved community. It takes unity, it takes resources, it takes the right people in office. And I think right now, we've got many of the right people in office to seriously address the problems that we face as a society, including gun violence. I've been in favor of limiting access to guns ever since I've been in public office. If we could stop making them, and certainly nobody should have access to semi-automatic weapons and automatic weapons other than military, and in some instances, law enforcement. We just passed a bill in the House that would require mandatory background checks for anyone who would attempt to purchase a gun. But we have
background checks and laws in place. What about a mandatory gun confiscation?
I'm in favor of that. As a matter of fact, if we stop making them, then I would be in favor of not making handguns that individuals use to hunt other people with. And so it's the big issue. It's a big problem. It requires serious attention, and that's what's being done right now in every instance that the people that I'm talking about have an opportunity to decide.
I'm Lionel T with the Media Connection here in Chicago, where Vice President Kamala Harris has paid a visit to some of the facilities facilities offering the COVID-19 vaccine and continues to encourage its spread. And the congressional and senatorial representatives from Illinois have spoken. I'm Latif with the Media Connection. See you next time.